All right, so we're going to finish cigar talk, and as you see right here, the Kim Dynasty ashtray, and then I got these 2 cigars that I'm going to finish up that I started smoking earlier. 1 cigar is done, is down and out, but all the visuals are recorded. All the visuals are recorded for the day, and now I'm just want to come back and finish the cigar talk we started earlier about the movie About Time. All right, so I told you the beginning parts of the movie in the last jank, and so now I just want to go through this last parts of it. And you saw them 2 little cigars. I don't. It's that was a weird noise, but they for sure. As much as I be talking and be going, you know, how long are they gonna last, right? Because the other one, all I did was just load up my jank and then step out the car, and that jank was done. That jank was done already. So let's go. Finishing them up. I don't know which one is which. I know I smoked the Añejo. It's not the Lipa Oscar, Connecticut. That's gone. The Añejo and the one I had earlier, which was called... All I got to do is look at the band. That was the last band added to the jacket. It was the Intemperance cigar. That was the smallest and shortest one for the day, but it's one of the, it had a decent pool, was able to last. So let me see. So I was writing down a whole bunch of stuff. Started over here to move way over here. So forgive me as I try to get through this, whatever I was writing. So, okay, yeah. Let me get lit back up real quick. So, you're going through the movie, and he finally finds the one that he really wants and wants to marry, whatever, right? Now, this is here's this part where he's like, would you have done the same thing he has done? It's like, you gotta, this is where I actually had to commend him on his decision making. So I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go with this one and see how long this lasts. Yeah, but it's already down at the end, so I shouldn't have my gloves on, but hold up. Let me turn it. Let me get the other side. You know, with a cigarette, when you get down to this last little bit, they call it a roach. I don't know if they got a name for a cigar. So, he finds the girl that he wants to marry, right? But then, the first shorty that he fell in love with, he sees her again at the play. And so, he go to talk to her. The shit don't go right. He go back in time. He do it again. He go to talk to her again. And then, so both times, and so again, just like in the first time, he rewinded time, and then he kept messing up, and then he figured out, like, it's never gonna work. Happens a fucking again. Twice he goes to reenact this shit, goes back in time, comes back, talks to her again, and then he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I ain't gonna talk to her. So then him and his bro sitting there talking, and this time, instead of him going up to her, remember, he said, nope. She comes and talks to him. And so this time, he done made up in his mind, like, I'm not going to talk to her. I'm going to leave her alone. She was like, yeah, we about to go out to dinner and this and that third. He's like, all right, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Wave her off. Next thing I know, she comes back, and she says, yeah, I told her to go to dinner by herself. You want to go grab something to eat? He goes, right? So he goes. Then he said he had a whole dinner with her. And then she was like, they about to go back to her place. So he walks her to her place. Mind you, this is the first girl he fell in love with. He walks her to her place, and she was like, it's a little more nice on the inside. This nigga leaves her right there and goes and proposes to the other girl. I said, damn. So he could have, because he invited her. He said, yo, you want to come to play with me? She said, no, I just want to stay in and go to sleep. So he gets back to her. She's still sleeping. And he goes and he wakes her up and he goes to propose to her. I had to give him his props. I had to commend him. Because he could have, the girl invited him in. And this is the first girl he fell in love with. And in the grand, like the girl he ended up marrying, she's cute. But the other girl, she's sexy. And so, it's like, it's those situations, right? He technically, because the girl, she sleep. He invited her to the place, she did not come. She invites him to the house, and this is the first girl he fell in love with. He could have knocked that shit out. He could have knocked that down and then went back and still proposed. That was my whole shit. And I know it's scandalous, and it's like, bro, what? Like, what? But I was like, bro, he been wanting her. So he was like, and she made the whole, now both of the girls made it easy for him. And so, but he daggone could have went in, knocked it down, at least hit one good time, because you never see her again in the movie. So he could have just hit that one time and then went back and then proposed. Because it's like, when you about to get married, it's like, you got to get out your system, right? He could have fucked the shit out of her and then went back. And so my thing about that is, since he can go back in time, because that's what he did with his first girl. He kept going back in time, and that was my one thing, right? You don't get to reenact the first time you have sex with somebody. He could, and so he goes back and he does it 3 times, you know what I'm saying? And so with that bitch, he could have kept going back in time and fucking the shit out of her, and then went back and still proposed, and the bitch was gonna say yeah. And so that's what this next part, that's why I left out on. So he wake her up, she sleeps, she's like, there's romantic music playing in the background. A guy has an important question. She said, are you on your knees? She was like, are you gonna try to propose or something? And he was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm about to do. And then she was like, and so, I thought that was cool, because then she also complimented, she was like, thank you for not making it like a big thing with a whole bunch of people around and stuff like that. So sometimes when you ask married people what the proposal, some people, like I've been invited to multiple proposals. Like I've been there, and like that joint is cool. Like you be sitting there and be like, oh shit, either there was one, the first time I think I didn't know what's fucking happening. Bro just told me to come through. It's not lit no more. Damn, just that fucking fast. So I remember the first time I went to a proposal, I didn't know it was gonna be a proposal. It was a girl's birthday party. That's all I fucking knew. So my first time ever seeing a proposal live, I just thought it was a birthday party. We all at the birthday party, say there, boom, boom, boom. He's like, it's a surprise birthday party at this location or whatever. Make sure you dress up. So everybody dressed up and shit. And of course, you know, the people who was going to be in the wedding, they knew. But I did not know. I was surprised as everybody else. I was like, oh shit. We all mad surprises in the third. I've been to another proposal. Yeah, sometimes the girl be knowing. Like, so my first proposal, I did not know that shit was gonna happen. The second time, the last time I seen a proposal, I knew that shit was gonna happen. But sometimes you ask those people like, yo, how would you do your proposal differently? And some of the people who propose publicly or with a lot of people, and the people, it's just family and friends and close people that you know what I'm saying, you want to be there for that moment. Sometimes they say, I wish it was just me and you. They just wish it was me and you, and it was just us, and it was intimate. I got a shout out to one of my bros. Two of my bros actually did this. Now, one, it was because of COVID situations, and so everybody wasn't supposed to be around anyway, but he ended up having this whole thing recorded. But before even all of this, my other bro, he did the same thing. He had the camera set up, and they just having like a regular night, and then he proposed. So, and those my best friends, and he did that shit before what even happened. It was just him and her. He proposed. Boom. So she said, thank you for not making a big thing and this and the third, da da da, boom, boom. And it was so cool because he asked her, he was like, yes, no, or you get on my face, it's totally assessment, all this other shit. She was like, I'm gonna go with, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's just cool, right? That, like, you know, those big moments where you're like, because that's in my book, right? It's that power, I got a picture in my book where it's like a woman chopping a man's head off. And let's see if I can show you that real quick. So there's a picture in my book. This is called Power of Forgiveness. But it's about that power, right? And so when you ask somebody to marry you, they have a lot of power in that moment. Because if they say, like, in that moment from when you ask until they say something is heightened climax, right? And so they technically could break your heart and reject you. Or they could say yes. And really, that's when it all comes down, right? So, those are just some power moments. When you ask somebody a question, you put them in a position of power because now they got to answer you. So I liked her response. I liked how she went about it. But my big thing about this was that's a big moment in anybody's life. And so the way they go about it, it make it seem so cool and so chill. Now, other things. So they go back home. He takes her to meet his family. The mom says a couple things. She says, oh, you're pretty, or you're cute. She automatically deflects it. She's like, oh, it's just a lot of makeup and this and that third and mascara. And the mom looks at her and was like, yeah. These are like funny little moments, right? She's like, oh, you're pretty. And she's like, no, it's just makeup and a whole bunch of mascara. And the mom's like, yeah. And the mom gets closer and is like, looking at her face like, yeah, that's it. And then, but as they're walking out, her mom says a couple things. She said, a girl being too pretty is like a detriment because, did I get my shit down? She said, when a girl is too pretty, I wrote this somewhere. Hold up. Because if it's not in my book, that means I texted to myself. The Face ID don't work because I got a cigar. Hold, please. Technical difficulties. Okay. Let me get this one switched over. Oh, she says, if a girl is too pretty, she stops from developing a sense of humor or personality. I thought that was big. When a girl is too pretty, she stops developing a sense of humor or personality. And that was big in a sense of, you kind of see it sometimes. For instance, so sometimes the girls are pretty, but they be boring. They don't have a personality. They're not funny. They're just pretty. And you see that because people just give them and feed them attention and never really have to. So that, and since they get attention based off their physical looks, they never really have to try or work on being like, to really work on their social skills, be a people person and or be nice, or they don't have to work on those other social skills because they're physically attractive. And she said that's for girls who are too pretty. Cause that's like, so like some niggas will say like, what type of girl would you date? Would you date, would you date a girl, a 7, 8, or 9, or a 10? Most niggas would say, give me an 8 physically, but the sex need to be on 10. You know what I'm saying? That's like a perfect combo for people. Because they kind of just realize there's not a lot of pretty girls that got good sex. So that's the thing, right? So yeah, so stuff like that. And so on the flip side, girls who aren't as pretty, or let me see something. Okay. Girls who aren't as pretty, they have to work on those things. They have to work on their social skills. They have to be friendly. They got to learn to be nice and friendly and funny, because physically things aren't going to come as easy. Oh shit. And it's getting kind of dark, right? So bro, because these cigars are so short right now, I ain't gonna be able to really just chat like I want to, bro. But that's all right. We're gonna run it back tomorrow. We're gonna run it back tomorrow. But, and so, yes, the girls who are not as pretty gotta actually work on having a personality. And being funny, being nice, being generous. They have to work on their personality. They have to work on their social skills, because they're not pretty. They're not going to have that social acceptance. So it's not going to be that easy for them to maintain somebody's attention. And so the other part, this next one was interesting too. And this is something that it's now this is a question I might have to add to my podcast, my podcast questions, because when I start to, like, you know what I'm saying, my cigar talk therapy and really like having the guests on my show and interviewing people, she straight up asked her, and this is her first time meeting her, she asked her, what are your faults? And it catch your attention. She's like, excuse me, what are your weaknesses? Makes it even more clearer. Like she's literally asking, what are your faults? What are your weaknesses? And then she goes like this. She says, she's insecure. The mom says, that's sweet. She says, sometimes I got a bad temper. Her mom said, that's crucial. She said, sometimes you got a bad temper. She said, that's crucial. How else are we going to get these men to do what we want? And then her last weakness was her son. And she's like, you know what? I do too. But don't tell him that or else he'll get cocky. So those were her 3 weaknesses. Those were her faults. And that was cool. And her mom's response to all that was cool too. I also thought this part was cool. So now that they're engaged and they're about to get married, because he also tells them, hey, we're getting married and we're about to have a baby. We're about to get married and we get married soon because we're about to have a baby. I'm going to give this a couple more puffs and then I got to let it go. I got to retire it. So she says, you haven't made any decisions about wedding planning. And so she's like, for every decision you make about our wedding plan, for wedding planning, I'm going to strip. I'm going to take something off. So she asked him, she was like, where do you want to get married? He said at home. I think at his house or whatever. Like, yeah, because they got a nice house. So he's like, in his house or whatever like that. She takes something off. And then he was like, who's going to be the priest? He was like, this local bloke around town, this and third with the yellow teeth. She's like, fine, whatever. Take something else off. Who's the best man? He's like, oh, this is a tough question because the best man is always going to get a bad speech. The best man's going to get the bad speech and going to say something that you end up like, oh, and embarrass you. And so what actually ends up happening is he chooses the best man. He gets married. He chooses the best man, gets married. First one he chooses, embarrasses him. Second one he chooses, embarrasses him. And I think it's like, yeah, he chooses 3. He chooses 3. They all embarrass him, and then he ended up choosing his dad as the best man. She said and then the last one, she was like, okay, what about the honeymoon? And he says, bed and breakfast in Scotland. And she was like, I'm not taking my pants off for Scotland. And he was like, come on, that's all we can afford. She said, I want 2 weeks in Bali. And then he chases her back into the room. So that whole interaction was cute. She's like, for every question that you answer, I'm gonna strip, I'm gonna take something off. And then but for the last one, when she said honeymoon, he said bed and breakfast. She said, I'm not taking my pants off. That was the last one, her panties. He's like, I'm not taking my pants off for Scotland. I want 2 weeks in Bali. So that was funny, that was cool. The next one, then they get married. So on the wedding day, it's like, you can plan a picnic, but you can't plan for the weather. All right, I'm letting this go. You can plan a picnic, but you can't plan for the weather. And so on their wedding day, also, you know, most people get married in a white dress. She comes down in a red dress and she has a veil, technically, or something wrapped around her back that's red and it goes down her back, but her veil's not over her face. Those are two things I thought were interesting as well. So I was like, dang, what's the significance of wearing red on at your wedding? Not so she doesn't have a typical white dress. She wears a red dress. That was different. And then the weather for their wedding day, it was super windy. It's super windy. And on top of it being windy, then it starts to rain. And so that is, and mind you, because they're leaving the church and they're walking outside to the reception. Everything is outside at their house. And so I said, it's bad weather. And it's raining so hard and they actually under their tent. They're under tents and stuff, but then the tents even come down. The tents break down from the water. And so the water, it just splashes out on everybody. And what did I wrote worst hair, best something. Mess. Oh, the water messes up people's hair, the grooming, everything. Oh, I'm talking about her best man, his best man being his dad. But yeah, and just noticing the weather, and because he at the end of while they just sitting back chilling, he actually looks at her and he's like, "Do you wish I would have chose a different day, where it wasn't as rainy or this and that?" She was like, "No." You know what I'm saying? And so that's something to also be thinking about too, because I'm thinking about whenever I decide to get married, you want people. I want those carefree people who like in the instance that it's raining and it's so bad weather, because you see some people's like, and people are running around and that there. Other people is but there are some who are laughing at all of this stuff just going on in the weather and just don't care. So actually, I think what's crazy is I can kind of tell which cigar was which. So I had to leave out. That was the Añejo, because that Añejo was smoking kind of fast. That short cigar was smoking slowly. Even though it was short, it was smoking slowly. So I know that this is that first one. Okay. So the cigar I started with today, I'm ending with. That's why I had to compliment this shit. That's why this shit got a 7.8. And that's why the other one was also like a 7.8, because I was able to kind of get through it. But it was smooth, though. It was definitely smooth. I gotta remember what I wrote down or said about that shit. Because they were similar, but... So yeah, I want people who's just gonna be able to laugh and joke and just have a carefree time no matter what the weather is, what's going on. Like those people that you want at your wedding, those people that you want to be around. Like, and it just makes for a great story. Now the thing about his dad being the groomsman or the best man, this is his dad's speech. His dad says, "There's only 3 men that I love. BB King." Well, he said something about his father, and he said his father wasn't that good of a man. So he was like, so since my father's out, he's like, he loves BB King. And then he looked at the boy's uncle, but it's his brother, and he looked at he says, I love him, the uncle, which is basically his brother, and his son. So he said, there's only 3 men I love: BB King, my brother, and my son. And oh, then also at the wedding, his roommate, the one who writes plays and stuff like that, the lady comes up and asks him for his autograph. He says no. He says no. And that is so, it's funny. it's funny, and at the same time you respect his decision, because he was like, I'm at a wedding. I don't want to be signing autographs and like that. I just can't enjoy myself and just kick it, just be a normal person. I'm just here for him and them and their union. I'm not trying to be here to be, you know what I'm saying, signing autographs. So you understand like his low-key mentality, but at the same time, it's like it's just an autograph. And then so it's just funny the fact that he says no, because you would think that he's gonna say yes. Then the groom, the main character in this story, I don't even know his name. I actually should know his name. I don't know why I don't remember his name. He comes up and is like, okay, I see you met the maid. And so the guy, now he feels bad because the maid, their maid is the one who asked him for an autograph. And so now he's like, these people need to wear name tags. And so he's like, it's just so arrogant and cocky, but at the same time, it's like, son, why would you say that? He's like, these people need to start wearing name tags. And then what else I got? Oh, I kind of mentioned already, but when he said, do you wish we had did it on a day where the weather wasn't a less wet day? And then let's see, baby. Oh, then they have the baby, and he's like, once you have a baby, anyway, he was like, once you have a baby, your life starts to change. You start to make decisions based on a baby. So they can't stay in their apartment anymore, and so they got to move out. And so those are big life moments. So you have a baby, and then a baby makes you go move because now you want to accommodate so the baby can have his room, and the baby's going to have a place to grow up. And that's something I think about too sometimes. Like, depending on what part of the country that you live on, your baby's going to have, you know how they say nature versus nurture, and the nurture is your surrounding. Like the nature is biological DNA. That's what's going into the baby, the parents and their upbringing. But then the nurture, how much does that have an effect on who the baby's makeup and mentality as the baby grows up? And so they talk about, and so like if you have a baby born in New York, you know they're gonna have that New York accent. If you have a baby born in California, they're gonna be super carefree and have the super liberal mind. But if you have a baby born in Florida or Georgia, like there's things to think about like that. So where are you gonna have your baby born at? Then he says every detail is delightful. And so he can time travel, and so he stops time traveling as much and is much more present in the moment. And he says having a baby makes life that much more delightful. So it's a couple things that end up happening. His sister gets in her sister's boyfriend comes to whatever they're having. I think they're having like another baby shower or something like that. And so it's their second baby, and her sister's boyfriend makes it there, and he having a conversation with the boyfriend, and he kind of tell, and he's like, yeah, we had a little disagreement, a little arguments on the third, and she said she was gonna be on her way, she said she was coming. She never makes it. She ends up getting into a car crash. So he goes back in time just to make sure that she gets to the place on time, and she comes through. She has this big origami crane. I thought that was cool as what she was bringing. She bought this big origami crane. It's not that origami is a lost art, but you just don't see it too often. Burning my hands, burning my tips, burning my fingertips. All right. Then from there, couple things. He knows his sister's having a, do I say that later? Oh, we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna just keep going. So his sister, but he knows his sister's in a bad relationship. So he goes back in time so that she never even dates him and she dates somebody else. And it's like when somebody is in a, when you know somebody's in a toxic relationship, right? You know somebody's in a toxic relationship that you don't think that you should be in, but they're in it. So it's their decision. It's up to them. And then what he does is he goes back in time so that she never meets him, and he comes all the way back through. But then he ends up having a different baby. And so he talks to his dad, like, what happened? And he was like, yeah, when you go back in time like that, you're not gonna have the same baby that you had before. So he really wanted his first child, that daughter. And so you know how, like, when you having babies, the daughter takes more of the genetics from the dad, because the daughter ended up having red hair. Because when he goes through the whole thing, he comes back, he picks up the baby. He think he about to pick up his baby girl. It's a baby boy. And the boy, could you tell it's a boy? Because the boy has the mom's color hair, and it's a boy. And so he's like, I don't got my same kid. So he goes back, and one of his lessons was, and because it's like a big thing, should you insert yourself when somebody is in a toxic relationship? Should you insert yourself? And it's like, no, you know what I'm saying? That's their relationship. That's their decision. Let them be in it. And when they get out, it's a lesson they got to learn within that relationship. They got to learn to get themselves out of it. Or some people just stay in toxic relationships because they like the toxicity. Some people just like it. So the fact that he can time travel, though, he then, having a baby, he time travels less because he's enjoying the child growing up. But then he was like, some days you only want to live once. So his dad tells him the secret to happiness. He was like, you live every day normally. So live every day normally, go through the pains, go through the struggles, and a third, and then relive the whole day again. And so you kind of watch it as he's going throughout the day, and he's having these certain moments. But then when he goes back to relive the moment, he's much more funny, much more charismatic. And like the guy, when they be in his meetings and he be writing notes like, he's such a dick. And he'll turn the page over so the guy can see it and be like, he making faces and doing all this other. He's doing a lot of funny shit his second time around. The first time he goes through and he's struggling with it. The second time he goes through, he's much more happier and he just plays with it. Like, he's sitting next to the guy on the train, and the guy on the train has his loud music. So the first time he's just sitting through it like, shit. But the next time he goes through it, he like, I'm gonna just dance to it. You know what I'm saying? He has fun the next time he relives, when he's reliving each day. But he's like, some days you only want to relive once. And so the day that his dad dies is a day that he doesn't want to keep going through. So he doesn't go back in time to relive that day. Now, two things switch. He asked the girl, did she want another baby? She was like, what? Then later in the movie, now that he's learned a couple lessons, because if he goes back too far, it changes the baby that he'll have. And so now he has two babies. And so, but he gets to a point where the wife asks him, does he want to have an insurance baby? He's like, what? She's like, what if one of the kids is super smart? I don't want the other one to just be dumb by itself, so now we can have two dummies and they won't feel like they should have two dummies. One could be super smart and the other one be two dummies, and they won't just feel left out because they both dumb. So she's like, well, let's have an insurance baby. And so he's like, maybe. He's like, maybe later. He's like, maybe down the road. She's like, well, how about now? He's like, she's like, okay, how about now? Like, this is all within the same conversation. She's like, how about now? Like, she's putting that pressure on him. And he doesn't want to say yes, because if he goes through with having this third baby, his dad is going to die. And so he was like, saying yes to my future is saying no to my dad. And then it's a couple things. So in the beginning of the movie, he talks about things that he does with his dad. Him and his dad always just skipping rocks by the ocean. Him and his dad just playing table tennis. And his dad always lets him win at table tennis, right? And then his dad beats him. But you gotta be on. You gotta be really paying attention to the movie. Like, oh shit, his dad just beat him, and then, or yeah, his dad just beat him, and then he was like, "Give me a kiss." His dad's like, "You want me to kiss you?" But his dad's a time traveler too, so his dad understands what's happening. And he was like, "Oh shit." Oh, because he says, "You want me to give you a kiss?" And he says, "I'm about to have a kid." And so his dad's like, "Oh shit." Well, he didn't say "oh shit," but his dad like understands the dynamics of what's about to happen. He's like, if he goes through having his kid, that means his dad's about to die. So the most touching part of the movie, him and his dad having a conversation, and then his dad was like, you know, if we don't change too much, we can, everything will still go out as planned. And it goes back to the beginning of the movie. And the shit is tough. I almost wanted to cry. I always wanted to cry. Because his dad can go back in time and shit. But the thing about his dad dying was the fact that his dad had cancer. But he didn't know he had cancer until it was too late. And remember, because once you have a kid, that kind of changed the dynamics of shit. And so what they end up doing, it's like it's really touching, because then you start to realize his dad always letting him win. That was his dad just time traveling, keep really reliving the moments and just letting his son win and beat him the whole time. And so it goes back to the beginning of the movie, and they time travel all the way back, and the boy and they back and just skipping rocks at the ocean. And the shit is it's tough, because now you see the dynamic of he really wants his dad to live, and they just gonna like, you know what? We just gonna live this whole fucking shit one more time. And it's like, if you could time travel, that's what the fuck you would do. And that's right now it's making me think about that song by Luther Vandross, "Dance with My Father Again." It's shit like that. When you listen to that song, he was like, man, I wish I could go. He just remember going to ask his dad for some shit, and then like his dad saying whatever, and then he had to go ask his mom, but then he started to reminisce, like, damn, he can go back to the room and he hear his mom crying, and he's like, man, I just wish that my dad was back, and that he could come back out and just to dance with my father one more time. And it's shit like that, bro. And so that's the most heart touching part of the movie, because they go back in time one last time just to relive life again together, and then it's official, like his dad has to die. And so that was the big thing in the movie. Another little crucial part where she was like, he was talking to his sister, so it's a whole romantic comedy, right? And one thing you notice is that his sister was in a toxic relationship. She had that car crash, she was beating up on her and stuff like that, and he let her go through it. And then eventually, though, what ends up happening this time, though, instead of changing, because remember, he wants his kid, they're at the hospital, and he's like, now they're having a conversation. She was like, yeah, maybe I should stop dating bad guys and stop quitting jobs and just date somebody who's nice and boring. Come on, man. And so that's another thing, right? Some people get out of relationships because they're bored. And I was one of them type of people, right? And that's one lesson I learned. There was this one girl, out of everything, bruh, but the boring moments that I spent with her are the times that I miss. Like, I still have, I used to, oh my goodness, well, I used to, you know what I'm saying? You know how you lay your head on their chest? You lay your head on their chest and you just go to sleep, take a nap. She used to send me pictures of when I fell asleep on her chest, or we used to bake cookies and shit. And I still have those pictures. I still look back at that shit like, damn, why the fuck did I let her go? And it was like, it's because I thought she was boring, right? But that was a bitch. she was foreign. She really was though. She used to travel all over the world. But that's somebody I really do miss, and you miss those boring moments. You know what I'm saying? And then, but now when it's like thinking about getting into a relationship now, you want somebody that you can be bored with, and that's peaceful as shit. Like when I go to the cigar shop and I'm around all the older men, that's all they talk about is peace. Sometimes nobody's saying shit. Sometimes they just be quiet in that bitch. And niggas just be puffing a cigar, looking at the TV. But one of the dudes, he's like, yo, bro, all we want is peace, bro. He's like, that's the biggest thing you're gonna prioritize in your life, and you're not gonna jeopardize that for no fucking body. And so outside of all that, his sister, he's walking on the beach with his sister, and she was like, you know, I'm the faller. You know, there's always that one person in the family who just doesn't have their life together. And she was like, I'm that person. She's like, I'm the faller. I stumble. I trip up. But this time, he was like, maybe you should, break up with him and go date him. And she was like, what? He's like, yeah, he's always had a crush on you and this and that, boom, boom, boom. And so they ended up dating. They ended up having a kid. So that was cool for her. Oh, and she said, when did you start being so serious? And he said, since it occurred to me that I might lose you. And every day up until yesterday, one of the other lessons he learned was every day up until yesterday will be as the day it's always been. It's always been lost. Yesterday's always gone. And so, I did write some more. Let's have another. Screw that. Oh, yeah, the first time he asked her did she want to have a kid, she said, screw that. I got fat. It hurt. She's I'm not trying to go through that again. And so it was funny to have her again come back later and say, like, let's have an insurance baby. Now, the uncle is so fucking forgetful. Like, they're like, yo, we getting married. And then he look at the girl and say, who you getting married to? She's like, I'm getting married to your nephew. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. And then he's like, we're having a baby. And he look at the girl, he's like, who's the father? She's like, your nephew. The uncle is so fucking clueless. But the day that the father died, the uncle said this. He said, the best day of my life was when he told me that he loved me. So this is the worst day of my life. And the mother, when they go back to the mom and they see the mom, she's like, they ask her, what did they ask the mom? Oh, it's a dumb question to ask anybody, right? They just lost the mom she just lost her husband that she's been with. And so ask her how she's doing. And she said, I think she said someone was on terrible. She said infuriated. And then she said, something about living life without her. It's right here. She said, I'm furious. She said, I'm furious. And I'm uninterested in living life without your father. That shit. Now, everybody comes at Jada Pinkett for the stuff that she be saying, but she said some shit. She said, when you're in love with somebody, they're going to break your heart. It doesn't matter how fucking perfect the marriage is. Somebody's going to die first. And that's going to be heartbreaking. And the fact that the mom is like, I'm so uninterested in living life. Like she does, like, cause they say about people who stop working, they die earlier than people who live longer. Than the people who work longer. Because having a job and having a reason to get up, it's like, I got a reason to get up. I got to go to work. I got to do this. But then when there's no fucking reason for you to get up and get going, you don't have nobody to see. There's like, usually it's people that depend on you. Like for me, I got my dog, I got my pets and shit. But when you're a parent, your kids are grown, they out and about, you got your husband, that person you're supposed to grow old with. And now that they're gone, it's like, what the fuck am I still here for? Like, that's one thing about people who live a really long time. You can live so long that it's an entire new world. All your friends are dead. All my friends are dead, Little Uzi. All your friends are dead. Nobody knows who you are. nobody comes from the same time period as you. And so it's like you're literally living in a different world. And that's just something to be mindful of. And so one of the things his dad was talking about, like being a smoker, right? Because he didn't know he had cancer and shit. But then he was like, well, I don't know if your mom would have still loved me. She always thought that I was a sexy smoker. So he was like, would he go back in time and stop smoking? He was like, I don't know. That's probably one of the reasons your mom fell in love with me, because I was such a sexy smoker. And then they come to those little parts where the son starts to realize. The son looks at his dad, was like, have we had this conversation before? Dad was like, yeah. Like after a while, I got to a point that someone was like, have we had this conversation before? Dad was like, yeah. And then he started to really piece together that, damn, the dad just been trying to just spend as much time as he could, because they can time travel, but he spends as much time as he could with his son. And like, that's been big the last few days. The last few movies I watched a movie called Origin. Now, she lost her mother and her husband. And one of the things she talked about is that her husband, they had a small argument. And the husband tried to apologize to her. And he was like, hey, babe, you want to go eat some pasta? And she was like, no, I'm going to just go upstairs and take a bath. The next time she sees her husband, he's dead on the floor. That is so traumatic. And when you start to think about the last time I talked to this person, she was like, he was trying to apologize to me. He was trying to be nice. He just wanted to sit down and eat dinner with me. And that was the last fucking conversation I had. I denied him. And next time I see him, he was dead. And then the person I could console, I could try to tell my problem to and go to, her mother, she was dead. She got a call that her mother was dead. She couldn't even go say, Mom, this, that, and the third. And that's all. And that was what their argument was about. Their argument was about her spending more time with her mother because she didn't want to write no more. He was like, you don't want to write? That's your passion. That's this and the third. That's what the argument was about. So that was their last argument. Then he dies. She's just talking about she wants to spend more time with her mother. Then she don't even get to do that. And it's like your last conversation with somebody. What would your last words be? That is so powerful to me. And I always pay attention to that in movies and shows. Like when I'm watching Peaky Blinders, when he has to go kill the guy at the end, it's in the first season. He has to go kill the guy because they had a disagreement with the Italians. And the Italians was like, dudes, because the guy had mental problems. He had PTSD. So he ended up stabbing the other boy. He ended up killing the Italian. And so the Italians was like, well, he gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Or it's gonna be war, it's vendetta, bitch. It's war on you. And so he's like, all right, I'm gonna take him out. And it's gonna be in front of y'all. So the Italians are watching him, and so it's a fake death. You gotta watch Peaky Blinders. But shoot him in the back of the head. And but before he does that, he says, do you have any last words? And he was like, take care of my son. Make sure my son doesn't live the same life we live. Set him up with a nice job. Make sure he's a regular person. Don't put him in his lifestyle. I don't want him part of that. I don't want him to go through things. I don't want him to live the life that I live. Just let him have a normal life. And when you bury me on the hill. He said, bury me on the hill and tell my wife where I'm buried at so she know where to find me. That shit is like your last words. If you got to think about that, what would your last words be? What would your last words be? I'm like a fiend trying to get this last little bit, but I don't care. I wasn't done. I want my visuals. So, what would your last words be? And so, like the trauma that it reminds me of was when I got my dogs stolen from me. When my dogs were taken from me, I thought about the last time I saw them. And I was like, damn, did I even tell them that I love them? I was like, damn, did I even get to tell my dogs I love them? I was like, I don't know what my last words were to my dogs. And if it was gonna be, is that my last time seeing my dogs? Shit like that be plaguing your mind. It's like, damn, is that my last time seeing my dogs? What if I said, sometimes I'm like, yo, if I knew that was gonna be my last time seeing my dogs, what would my last words be? Mind you, I'm talking about my pets. I'm not even talking about a person. I say if it was my dogs, what I want my last words to be, I love you. I had two things. It was either gonna be I love you or I wasn't gonna say shit. I wasn't gonna say shit. I was like, and just, you know what I'm saying, just, it's my last time seeing you. It's like a nod, so. And so, same thing with Origin, right? So when she lost her husband, she goes back, she started reminiscing. Simple shit. She go to the airport. What does that trigger her? The last time, who dropped her off at the airport before? Her husband. Have a safe trip, babe. Now she gotta go to the airport and catching an Uber and this and that, third. It's shit like that. They just be mad. Like, it's like the little simple shit in life that will start to trigger you and make you think about certain events. Like, damn. So, About Time. That's the name of the movie. The movie is called About Time. I would recommend this movie to anybody. It is vulgar. It has sex. Well, there's no crazy sex scenes. They don't show people having sex, but it has a lot of sexual innuendo and content. But it is a funny movie. It has a lot of life lessons, and I would definitely recommend. Now, again, when I'm doing my movie ratings, it's above a 7. It's above a 7. I want to put it, now the only reason I'm not giving it anything higher, the only reason I don't want to give it a 10 is because if you're somebody who is super like against, like, okay, say you pay attention to what you're listening to, what you watch. Because like I just told you, there was a part of the movie where I was like, damn, bro, he could have fucked her and still got his wife. And I don't even know where I was going. I forget what I just said. Oh, the movie rating. I think it was, but if you're not somebody who would entertain certain thoughts and ideas, or it would really bother you, then maybe that's the only thing I would give it a knock for. So I definitely want to put this as like one of my favorite movies. I'm not gonna say it's one of my favorite. One of my favorite movies though. Maybe I should go back, because you gotta give yourself time in between watching movies, because you can't watch it as soon as you just watch it, because whatever. If you give yourself time, it's like watching it for the first time. Inception is a really great movie. So when you go back and watch Inception for the second time, you start to pick up on shit like, And then the thing about Inception was, at the end of the movie, you never really know, it's because because they used to go in people's dreams. They used to go in people's dreams, and you didn't know if he was living real life or if it was a fucking dream. So everybody, when you're going through it, you're supposed to have a little totem, something that lets you know, like, okay, if I got this lets me know if shit is real or if shit's a fucking dream. And he had a spinning top, and he would spin the top, and if it was a dream, the shit wouldn't stop spinning. But he knew, but that would let him know if he's in real life or not. Because if he's in real life, the shit would eventually stop spinning. And the way Inception end, he spin it, and it conceptually, like, they play it in such a sense, it cuts off. But in your mind, you see it wobbling, and so you think it's slowing down. Does it fall? And you never really know if he was still dreaming, if he was in somebody's dream state, or if he was actually living life again. Because his shit was... Now, he does 2 movies like this. Leonardo DiCaprio. All right, I'm gonna give it. 3's a good number. 3 more puffs and then I gotta retire this cigar. Ah! Hold up. It's burning my hand. Gotta retire. He plays in another movie. Now, this is another movie I really do like and I really do enjoy. Shutter Island. He plays in Shutter Island. Shutter Island, they trying to get him. They put him through this whole simulation. It's not even a simulation. They put him in an actual psych ward. He ends up breaking out of this shit and figuring that, oh, this is all just, y'all just trying to make me remember who I was and the life that I had. And at the end of the fucking movie, he's like, they trying to figure out if it worked. Cause the psychologist put him through this shit. And he trying to see if it worked. And so he be talking to him, he be like, yeah, you were a general, you had all these badges. These are my badges, my cigar bands. About to finish the sleeve, He said, you were a general, you had all these badges on the third. He's talking to him, and he think he about to get discharged. But then the last fucking thing he says makes the psychologist like, fuck, we gotta do this shit again. And you don't know, 2 things. You don't know if 1, he doesn't want to go back to his old life, or 2, if he doesn't want to go back to his old life, and so he just playing a game like, man, I'd rather just stay in this psych ward and I'll just go through this whole thing again. Or if he actually is still crazy and he doesn't know that where he's at. Because he was in such a state that he was making certain people like, oh, you're this person, and da-da-da, back into but he's not in that same mindset anymore. So they don't know if it worked or not. And so that's another movie he should be playing. Leonardo DiCaprio, he's a really good actor. I like most of his movies. All right. So that was cool. So other things to be on the lookout for. I did visuals today. I recorded visuals, but I recorded 2. I recorded an episode of Cigar Talk with the audiobook and commentary for my book, Art versus Artists. And I'm going to, but that shit was over 45 minutes. And so I was like, I could have just recorded this Cigar Talk and then I could have just recorded the Cigar Talk and then went back and edited it, but I was like, oh, fuck no. I'm about to spend so much time just trying to edit my other visuals. The audiobook and commentary for this. So fuck no. It ain't gonna be up today. It'll be up tomorrow. I know what I can do, though, is I edited some visuals. Where my boxing gloves at? I edited some visuals with my boxing gloves. And so I'm gonna use that song by Kanye, Father Stretch My Hands. And it's gonna be the visuals. I gotta come through with something hard, with something tough, bro. Cause I was looking at my visuals, I'm like, yo, is my editing getting better or did it kind of slack off? I'm not sure what's up with my edit and my visuals. But this one, I'm like, this one about to snap. Because it's almost like a remake. Cause when I was first starting doing editing my visuals, so when I got out the mental asylum, I always knew I was getting out. So I got before I got out, I got an extra uniform. And I was like, yep, this uniform right here is my souvenir. And so I made visuals of me getting out the car, taking out the uniform, and I put this on. But this was before I painted it up and stuff. So I put this hoodie on and I put the gloves on, like the champ is here, the champ is here. So I did that. But back then I used to always record the visual. I used to do a time lapse, one shot, whatever happens, happens. And so I used to record it like that. And I wasn't really good at the editing. I don't even think, I'm not even sure if I had CapCut. I forget how I was trying to put this up. I may have just got CapCut and I was just starting to try to use it and just trying to edit. So now I'm coming back and I want to use the Father Stretch My Hands. Father, if your metro don't trust you, I'm going. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is I'm slow on it. So I'm gonna be able to edit that tonight because I can just go through those visuals kind of quick. And the only thing I'm stuck on is when the beat drop. Every time the beat drop, dun, 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 dun. So I'm gonna show you what the part I'm talking about real quick. I'm gonna show you the part I'm talking about. Father, stretch my hands. I'll turn the volume down. Not that part. Nope. This part. That part. I gotta figure out how, when that beat drop, bro. When the beat drop, I gotta keep what you call it, because you know what I'm saying? You wanna make sure you can't be playing music in your background. I gotta figure out what I'm going to do to hit that. If you know that beat drop, what's gonna be my transition, my switch, bro? You know what I'm saying? You wanna make sure you can't be playing music in your background. That was a nasty burp. Nasty burp. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm working on now. Like, how do I get that last part? So, thank you for your time, energy, patience, and attention. This has been another episode of Cigar Talk. I'm your chief, JaHaRaa, leader of the Kim Dynasty and the Spiritual Bandits, and I'm gonna see you on the next episode. Make sure you look out for the visuals. Look out for the visuals, bro. So it's gonna be a music video edit. I just told you what song it's gonna be. The visuals are gonna be immaculate. You know, you know, people be cooking, they put their foot in it. I'm gonna put my foot in this shit. All right, thank you for your time, energy, patience, and attention.